Hello, friends. Welcome to the session on artificial intelligence. In this session, we'll be discussing how ChatGPT works. Many of us are using nowadays ChatGPT in order to find answers to our questions. So, whenever we want to create some content or whenever we want to search for a new topic, many people nowadays are using the ChatGPT. And many of us may find that sometimes the chat GPT will give you the correct answer, but sometimes the chat GPT may not be able to give you the correct answer. Also, people are using chat GPT in order to generate images also. So if you really want to use chat GPT effectively in your work, then it is necessary to understand how exactly the chat GPT works. Probably this session will help you to understand how ChatGPT works and why it is happening that sometimes it is giving correct answers and sometimes the answers are not correct. Friends, as you know that you are viewing this session on my YouTube channel and you can subscribe to the channel so that you can watch many other educational videos on the various topics of electronics and computer science. So let us start the session and let us understand how exactly the ChatGPT works. So ChatGPT, as we know, that it is an AI, artificial intelligence chatbot, and basically it is being built on the GPT. So what this GPT stands for? GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So chat, as we know, it is a kind of discussion or dialogue, and GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer, and that is the reason it is being called as a chat GPT. So basically it is an architecture, and this architecture is being developed by an organization called as Open AI organization. So it is basically built on the large language model, or we in short we call it as LLM. So this large language model is being designed to understand and generate the human like text in the conversation format. So whenever the two humans talk with each other, then we know that they understand each other and they respond accordingly. So this large language model is also developed in the same way that it will understand what the user is saying, it will remember the context, and it will try to answer the query, or it will try to have a good conversation. So basically, this model has the ability to generate the text. So that is the reason it is being a textual model. And as we know that even nowadays, the versions are improved, and therefore it is possible for this model to generate image also. And this is one of the largest neural network. So basically what ChatGPT is just nothing but a neural network. It is one of the largest neural network where hundreds of billions of parameters are there and they are being tuned properly. So ChatGPT actually makes the use of transformer architecture. And this architecture was initially introduced in the research paper, Attention is All You Needed. And this paper was published in 2017. And there you will find that the people have started working on this model, and this model gets evolved, becomes better over a period of time. So basically, when you want to understand the core architecture of the ChatGPT, probably this diagram will explain you what kind of architecture the ChatGPT will hold. It has a input sequence, it is being tokenized, and then it is being given to the encoder. Then we have a multi-head self-attention mechanism where the output can be generated. It also has a decoder where you will find that the previous output is being tokenized, and then again it is fed to the decoder. And the output of the decoder is also connected to the multi-head self-attention. So there is a self-attention mechanism. Every ChatGPT will consist of a self-attention mechanism where it will help the model to determine which words in a sentence to focus on. So like the human beings understand which words are important in a sentence, similarly, the ChatGPT will also try to understand which words are important and which words need to be focused. So whenever you feed some sentence to the ChatGPT, then it will predict the next word from your sentence. It has a multi-head attention where it will capture the different types of relationship between the words. It is basically consisting of a neural network where it is a feed-forward neural network where it will process the attention outputs and it will add the complexity. It has an encoding which will add the order to the input token since the model doesn't inherently know the word order. Therefore, the encoding will help to add the order. So there is some training process to the ChatGPT. In the training process, the first step is the pre-training, where the model is trained on the massive data set. You will find that the large number of books, websites, articles are used for the training of the ChatGPT. So ChatGPT has been evolved after 2017 because the large amount of data on the web was available, because of which it was possible to develop such large language model. And the goal of the training is to predict the next word in the sequence. So for example, if you write a sentence, the sun rises in the, then what we expect the output from the ChatGPT is the east. In the step 2, we achieve the fine tuning. So the base GPT model is refined using the curated data so that we can have safety and as well as we can have a better performance. And then we apply the supervised learning or reinforcement learning mechanism so that we can have a human-like feedback. In the step 3, the ChatGPT is being optimized for multi-turn conversations. So ChatGPT will remember what you are saying, and then it continuously goes on having the multi-turn conversation. So the context is being maintained, instructions are remembered, and the response are automatically generated based on the user content. The inference mechanism is there in the ChatGPT. At the runtime, your message is being broken into the smaller units that is being called as a token. In the context window, the model uses the recent token to understand the current context, and the next token is being predicted. So what can be the next token that is being predicted in order to complete the response? Also, there is a process of de-tokenization where tokens are converted back into the readable text. So for example, when you give a sentence to the ChatGPT, explain quantum computing in simple terms, then the model will first of all tokenize it, will analyze the context, will predict each next token, and will generate the readable response. So there are different versions or models of the ChatGPT available. The earlier version was GPT-3, where there were 175 billion parameters there. Then we have GPT 3.5, which is much faster and more optimized. Then we have GPT-4, where improved reasoning, understanding, and multimodal input. Then we have GPT-4 Turbo, which is much faster, cheaper, and support larger context. And now we have even GPT-5 also, where you will find that it is much faster than its earlier version. So the ChatGPT understand and generate the natural language. It will adapt to a wide range of topics and styles. It will learn the instructions within the conversation. It may generate incorrect facts because whatever it is generating is based on what kind of query or what kind of prompting you are giving. If your prompt itself is incorrect, then it may generate the incorrect result. Or if the data for which the ChatGPT is trained is incorrect, then it may generate the incorrect fact. It is sensitive to the prompt phrasing. So appropriate prompt is to be used whenever you have some conversation with the ChatGPT. You can find that it can reflect biases from the training data. So it is not necessary that there will be unbiased output every time from the ChatGPT. You may have a biased output, and it will have a fixed context window size, which is limited, which will have limited memory in the conversation. So thank you, friends, for viewing the session. Hopefully you understood what exactly the ChatGPT do in order to respond to your query. Thank you all.